Hey guys, Gina, welcome to the highlight for the first race of the Formula 1 Championships on GTA 5, which set off last Friday with 21 drivers in total out of 22. One of them couldn't make it, unfortunately. But it was on Galileo Ring, and it was absolutely awesome. We managed to hire 4 cameramen with 4K quality cameras taking shots on different parts of the track. Unfortunately, I was only able to use a few of those shots at certain points where the main things were occurring. I didn't want to drag this on too much as the race was 1 hour long. The information about the race was on the screen. Lap 14 to 18 was the first pit windows, and lap 28 to 32 was the second pit windows. Everything was happening on my Twitch there on Friday, and it will also be happening for Wednesday for GP2, which will be tomorrow for the second Grand Prix on Circuit of the Shores. So the qualifying times for the first Grand Prix, as you can see, Neo Dark Shadow starting pole, Mackin starting second, Nema starting third, I myself starting fourth, Ryan starting fifth, Yuchia starting sixth, JVD starting seventh, Sean starting eighth, Picana starting ninth, and El Mister starting 10th, and so forth, so on. See the rest of them there. There was 2 qualifying sessions. The first qualifying session, I managed to make it into the second qualifying session, where the top 10 of the first qualifying session of 22 drivers or 21 drivers would be able to make it through. And then there you have to do another qualifier with less laps, with 2 laps in total, where I choked the first lap and managed to squeeze in a 123.8 to get a 4th position on the starting grid here for the actual race from the second qualifier. So this is where we sort of sorted out the formation lap, where first the grid itself with the qualifying times from 1st to 21. And basically, it was supposed to be 22 drivers. Unfortunately, one of them were lagging, actually, one of the reserve drivers for Apex Autosports, who was the Zerka, who's in GP2. But he ended up having to back out of the race, ended up taking shots for the race, actually. But you'll see exactly what happened. So this is the formation lap we're going through once the starting grid got sorted out. Starting 4th position, as you can see, Nema's in front of me in 3rd. Right in front of him is Mackin 10 out of nowhere, getting a really awesome start in the starting grid in 2nd position. Probably, you could say, the underdog of this top 10, because not a lot of people expected him to do this well. And it's absolutely amazing to see what this championships could bring at the end. So New Dark Shadow was expected to get pole from all the practice runs, which he did end up getting. Pretty so awesome to him. Right behind me, as you can see, the variables team. Yuchio's on 5th position, and Ryan was right behind him. They did really well on qualifiers as well. And the rest of the grid is coming through him from Bruffy's shot, as you can see. And the Danny shot is on the top left there as well, coming down to the track. So this is pretty much showing the entirety of the formation lap, how everything went down. So you guys will see how everything gets laid out for the starting grid after, with 2x2 actual F1 starting grid. So it was an interesting start for the season. I was extremely frustrated by the end, as you guys will see exactly what happened. And I guess I did put that on myself from the beginning of the race, which will come pretty soon. Now, a lot of people did come unprepared for this event, which was quite unfortunate. But I guess now everyone should be ready for the next Grand Prix from the experience of the first one and this one you're going to see today. Also, my actual game plan itself, starting in 4th position, I was quite happy with. I knew that I would get into the second qualifier, but the second qualifier was a lot of pressure because there's only 2 laps to put in to determine the top 10 starting grid after getting into that. So I was actually quite pleased with my 4th position starting grid, considering that there was about 6-7 drivers with 123.8s for the second qualifiers. So yeah, with that being said, knowing that Neo Dark Shadow was going to start in pole position, my game plan slightly changed, and it was always the same. I was hoping to get a little bit higher position in the starting grid because I had this track down in practice runs, and I was quite confident with it being consistently quick on pace with Neo. So having to get past 2 guys first to get the second position to be able to then apply pressure on Neo was the difficult task. So the race set off, and Nema's in 3rd position, you can see, and Mackin's right there in 2nd position. So I was hoping that perhaps Mackin can apply pressure at this point while I tried to get past Nema as quickly as possible. So I switched to my aggression attacking phase at the beginning. Of course, it's a risk knowing that the entire race was an hour long. There's no need to make any stupid moves. That's what's going in my head. But at this point, I was like, whoa. This inside gap right now opened up for an awesome overtaking opportunity. But next thing, completely misjudged. I was like, holy shit. At this point, if you were looking at my reaction on stream, I was pretty shocked at myself for making such a stupid move on the beginning of a 1 hour long endurance race, where myself and Nema got really awesome qualifying times for the starting grid, from starting 3rd and 4th to now 31 seconds behind the leaders starting last. So basically at this point, qualifying was absolutely pointless for both of us. Although Nemo should have never been in this situation, and it's completely unfortunate. I did apologize after this. Right, so let's take a look at this from both point of views, Nema and myself. Now, fair enough. Okay, I took him out. I deserve to lose all my positions. Not Nema, of course, but the way his car was upside down after this collision, and the fact that both his doors were open, did not allow him to actually topple back over. So even after all the cars went by, myself was in last position, Nema was in 20th position, he couldn't turn over. And yeah, it could have respawned, I guess, but there was a slight confusion over that rule, because there's no rule that, you can't respawn or whatever, but you have to respawn at the appropriate time without you getting in other people's way. And you see the white car, they're also trying to help out. And also you see Nema accidentally getting out of the car as well, not knowing. There's quite a lot of confusion, I suppose you could say. But the white car was part of Apex Autosport as well, as a reserve driver. For the person who couldn't make it was Alex Rogers. So in formation lap, we decided that he had to sit out the race because he was lagging too much. So Apex Autosport only had one guy representing the team, who was JVD, right in front of El Mister there. So I'm showing you this at the start again, but from different point of views. So Yuchio was right behind me before the incident, who grabbed 5th position from his teammate. And El Mister had a really awesome start, starting 11th position, grabbing 8th position, and just about grabbing 7th there, but JVD defended the inside. Now, JVD had an unfortunate start as well from my collision against Nema. What you notice in slow-mo right now, when Nema's car goes upside down, it hits the lamppost on the left and goes back onto the track, and JVD hits that and it hits the outside lamppost, which meant that he lost quite a few positions from being 5th all the way down to 9th or 10th from away from the shot itself. So safety car should have been called out from that point. Unfortunately, Ace Cole, the race official, did not see all of that, starting from the back and from the back of the pack, and that obviously comes down to miscommunication as well. So this was after the incident. There's another incident which occurred on the exit of the tunnel, where Looney HD from Green Bull Racing takes out K-Dog from Western Autosports, where Looney HD is in fact McIntyre's partner or teammate, and McIntyre's in 2nd position at the moment, right behind Neo, where they're pretty much bumper to bumper approaching the final corner you see after the shot. But me and Nema are still in the back of the pack, as you can see, coming back there, approaching that tight corner, whereas already the leaders are on the final corner of the start-finish straight. So interesting stuff going on right off the bat, just from the first few laps. Just the first lap, sorry. This is just the first lap, in fact. And there's a lot going on already. So much has changed from the starting grid till now. And it's just the first lap, and everybody finishing that off, where me and them are just coming through right now on the shot. People were kind of confused as how the hell did this happen. Even the cameramen were like, wait a minute, we still haven't finished our shot. There's 2 guys coming from a distance. So yeah, at this position that I was in, going into the 2nd lap, technically 3rd lap from the actual race point of view. Obviously the 1st lap was the formation lap. This is where I said to myself, all right, so let me just finish 10th, at least aim for 10th position at the end of the race. Because it's a short track and there's no room for mistakes. If you make a mistake, especially at the start when you're 31 seconds behind from the first mistake, then you can't really expect much from this race, from this point of view anyway. Skipped through a lap there. You see Nema slightly off the racing line, was able to exploit that and get a little bit more speed against him. Then also there was a little incident ahead of us where Substyles was held back. So grab the outside there, but unfortunately Substyle defends the inside along with Nema, but I was able to successfully still get the overtake against Nema from getting that speed ahead from lap after him recovering from the incident. So this time I legitimately overtook Nema there, and now my mission ahead was to gain extra 10 more positions, now taking 20th position. You can see from all point of views all these cars coming across from this section. And right about here, you notice a little incident with K-Dog hitting the tyre line on the outside, holding up Substyles and holding me up also. And Nema was trying to squeeze for the inside, but then K-Dog tried to go away from the racing line, ended up holding up Nema. So Nema unfortunately was held up by a couple of those guys back there with Substyles and K-Dog, whereas I was fortunately able to gain those 2 positions when recovering from that hold up. So right now I'm in 18th position and Nema's stuck behind those 2 drivers. So I can take advantage of the situation. Once again, unfortunate stuff for Nema because he should not be there in the first place. Here we see, I believe this is Mike Bauer or Dean R. I'm not too sure exactly. I think, yeah, this was Mike Bauer from the Silver Arrows team, where the leader obviously is Neo Dark Shadow, who's way off at this point. But this is where I managed to grab a decent overtake against Mike here. grabbing the inside and holding the outside from the chicane. This is the first time I ever managed a chicane overtake there during the race itself, actually, not even the practice sessions. Grabbing 17th position. And as you saw there, Dean R got stuck from the left shot, top left shot on the tyre line on the outside. So this is my chance to go for the 16th position on the same lap after overtaking Mike Bauer for 17th. I thought, holy shit, this is just on the plate here. Let me just drag my speed onto the inside and go for an aggressive move. And I managed to grab it. So at this point, just 4 laps into the race, I managed to grab a few positions from starting last. See, Nema's just behind that shot. He grabs outside overtake on Mike Bauer this time. As you see there, he's got Dinar ahead. So Nema's doing really well at this point as well, trying to keep up with the pack as well. So skipping forward here in the current positions and standings at this point, Neo Dark in the lead, Mackin in second, Uchiha, the variables team in third and fourth, Elmist in fifth, Defiance in sixth, Craig in seventh. Remember, Craig started 15th position. He managed to grab himself all the way back up into 7th position at this point, and the rest was there as well. So now we're moving swiftly on to lap 80, where you can pretty much see everyone that's taking part on this race, from the top left shot being the leaders, in the middle shot being the middle pack right now, and me being absolutely back there, trying to pee my weight back up from 16th position at this point. One thing you notice on the exit of the tunnel and the chicane, the outside tyre lines, someone gets held up near this point here where Looney makes a mistake, holds up Posh Josh right about there, and I'm on the screen zooming in. I managed to take advantage of Josh's unfortunate collision against Looney getting stuck on the tyre line, and from this point Looney just wanted to give his position back to Josh. I managed to grab 2 positions there, so that was interesting. So Josh is right behind me at this point, and Nema's just there creeping up ever so slowly as well. And now I'm in 14th position from being 16th on the exact same lap. So we're coming to the end of the lap here. Things are looking good at the beginning of the race, and all I need now is 4 more positions. I was able to grab another position on the same lap because Taz made a mistake on the outside tyre line again. There's a lot of mistakes being made by people hitting tyre lines on the outside, and it's quite unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. It was crucial for me not to make a single mistake from the point of my incident with Nema, and that's what I stuck to. We're skipping straight into the 11th lap, and you can see ahead of me right now is basically Zawanda in 12th position. So of course from lap 8 to 11 is pretty much I was pushing it, and right here we managed to creep up slowly to Wanda. So I was like, alright, cool, let's just see what you can do. Wait a minute, nope, another issue with tyre lines again, which this time held me up. So similar situation to what happened to Josh, but from a different point of view, or people were hitting tyre lines on the outside and holding you up. So what do you notice is a lot of mistakes people are making from hitting outside tyre lines. So the tracks in the future for the F1 Championships have been slightly tweaked. So from this position, Neo Dark's in lead, Mac in second, Uchio, the variables in 3 and 4th, Defiance in 5th, Elmis in 6th, Craig in 7th, JVD in 8th, Picano in 9th, Nismo in 10th, Sean in 11th, and I'm in 12th, that roughly about 15 seconds behind at this point for 11th position. But right now, as you can see, the pit window is opened up from lap 14 to lap 18. So from this pit window, you had to at least pit once for 20 seconds. And you have the timer starts, of course, at the tyre stack on the right hand side. You see where the red race official car is. So when you enter the pit, you can go at any given speed you want. So this was interesting. This is where all strategy and tactics came into play. Of course, from my point of view, being in 12th position right now, I was thinking to myself, I'm going to take this opportunity during pit window to keep pacing throughout the 3 laps and pit on the very last lap of the pit window, which will be lap 18. That's exactly what Neo Dark and Nismo did, and we were the only people, the 3 people out of the rest who pitted on the very last lap. And that I found extremely useful because I can use those seconds while others hold each other up in the pit stop itself to gain some few seconds, which did exactly happen. So that was nice. Unfortunately, with me gaining those few seconds from doing this, entering the pit stop on the last lap, I ended up meeting Nismo, who didn't know exactly how the pit stop worked at first. He thought, of course he knew about the 20-second rule, but he thought the race official ace code was supposed to let you go through from the pit itself. So what ended up happening, you'll see, I don't want to spoil it, but it was kind of ridiculous and controversial. So it made me lose time, in fact, from going into the pit instead of gaining times. So you see here on lap 16, I believe, or 17, I think this is lap 16, where Uchiha and K-Dog ended up pitting early, I did not see anyone enter the pit stop on lap 14. I think I saw one person was Posh Josh. So lap 16, this is lap 16, sorry. Lap 15, Uchiha Kidog went into it. And lap 16, you see Zawanda and I believe someone else right behind him. So a few guys were going in quite early. But then on lap 17, and pretty much only lap 17, a lot of cars went in together at the same time. That was interesting. That's when they were really holding each other up at that point. And you see a lot of people think this doesn't really make a difference, but it doesn't. It makes an insane difference when you see multiple cars having to take the corner at the same time for the pit. There was extremely tight. You know, they're gonna hold each other up there. So here you see Craig's entering it, then Brian there, little collision there, Mister and JVD right behind Mister, and I'm just cruising past there, and right, obviously the position that I'm in right now is I'm still in 12th position. Nothing's changed. It's just people are just having to take their mandatory pit between lap 14 and 18. So we're going to be approaching lap 18, which will be the final lap for the first pit window. Of course, if I did not enter this with Neo Dark and Nismo, then we would have been penalized, of course. So it was absolutely crucial, mandatory that we actually entered this pit. So notice here, approaching the final lap, well, lap 18 now. I wanted to show the first entirety of the pit window itself from lap 14 to lap 18, so you guys will see everything clearly what's going on. So now it's lap 17, my bad. So lap 17, essentially you see just the last few set of guys gonna end up hitting the pit. So that's Mike Bauer right now in the pit, and just behind him you see a bunch of cars coming in quite shortly. So Nema's there already. Unfortunately, Nema pitted twice. So in total, Nema pitted 3 times, I believe. He pitted at lap 9 where the pit window wasn't even open, so he got slightly confused. A few guys were slightly confused at first. You see there, Posh Josh, I think he was getting lapped. I'm not too sure exactly who that was from my point of view. But this is quite interesting. The car's coming out, but Nema got held off by Dinar there, unfortunately, so his pit was slightly extended. So you see Mac and 10's in the pit now, Defiant's in the pit, and the Picano's in the pit as well, my teammate, Team Fusion. So at this point of the race, most people have entered their first mandatory pit between lap 14 and 18 pit window, and of course the second pit window opens up on lap 28 and lasts till about lap 32. So of course my plans were to go to lap 18 and 32 like I mentioned before. So we're approaching lap 18 now, and there's about roughly 4 to 5 drivers remaining that need to go and still do their first mandatory pit. So here's me going to do mine on lap 18 now because I had to, because this is the last lap of the first pit window. You know, if myself and a few others did not do this on this lap, then obviously we would have been penalized. So here we are. Although I'm in 4th position, that's not my actual position, of course, because I'm still yet to do my pit stop for 20 seconds. You see there on the right hand side, Neo Dark ends up pitting on the last lap, quite smart himself because he's in the lead, way off Mackin at this point, but about a few seconds. Sorry, about 10-15 seconds, I think he's in the lead of 2nd place. So he's comfortably got first position, and there's no need for him to go into the pit stops early and being held up by other people. So he ends up going on the last lap of the first pit window, and he's got a nice sort of opportunity right here to go ahead and squeeze past Nema there. But that could have went all wrong, by the way he just exited like that. It's pretty fortunate, actually. So anyway, Shawnell now and Nismo entered the pits. You can see there, I'm going to join them right now, this position. So right here I stopped at 53 seconds, and of course having to wait for 20 seconds was the rule. I was like, alright, I'm going to exit out at 1 minute 13. That's where I'm allowed to exit from the moment I stopped at 53 seconds on the current lap. Nismo is ahead of me. He should be right now gone. He should be out of the pits. Right now I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is going on? Now he informed me after the race that he thought that Ace Cole, the race official, is supposed to let him go after the 20-second stop. But that was not part of the rules. So I was getting really pissed off at this point because I was held up extra 7 seconds on the first pit. So I waited in total about 28 seconds from that first pit, whereas I only had to wait for 20 seconds. So I ended up losing more seconds pointlessly due to confusion, and someone else held me up. So that right there, from this point, you see the position: Neo Dark in the lead, Mackin in 2nd, Uchiha in 3rd, Craig in 4th, Defiance in 5th, Picano in 6th, and Ryan in 7th. Something happened to Ryan at that point where he ended up losing positions from 4th to 7th. So what's interesting is that after the first pit, I ended up losing the position from 12th to 13th. I was slightly confused as to who that was. Although, you see right now, the car in front, it was that person, Looney HD. Something did happen to him because I knew that I had overtaken him a while back. So I'm not sure how he's in 12th position now. And something, I wasn't too exactly what happened to him. He actually, you can see he pulled out to the side there. So he may have forgot to go into the pits from the first pit window. I'm not sure exactly. I can't really get confirmation from that. But this is the actual positions right now. First place, Neo. Second is Mackin. Third is Combo. Fourth is Craig. Defiance 5th. Picano 6th. Ryan 7th. JVD 8th. Shawnell 9th. Elmiston 10th. Nismo 11th. And I'm 5 seconds behind him in 12th position. So this is basically square one again. And going into lap 25 now. We're skipping forward now quite a few laps because during this phase, from my point of view anyway, I was just chasing the gap down between myself and, Nismo. And one thing you'll notice is quite interesting here. I think someone does end up getting held up. Can't remember just yet from editing, but you'll see as it comes up here. So we're pacing at this point. Of course, you see quite a nice little battle going on between Defiance and Combo. Charnel was there. Oh yeah, JVD right behind Charnel. And Elmis is there having a battle with Nismo. And you see their back marker pulling away off the racing line to allow me to go through, which is Posh Josh. And so here, right, this was the interesting part. So Nismo and Elmister are having a nice little battle, right? But Shawnell also is there as well, along with JVD. These are the 4 cars ahead of me. What's interesting is that my target was, of course, just to finish in 10th position. That was it, you know. I need 2 more positions to go, and we're on lap 25. There's about 15 laps to go. And what happened? Shawnell ends up making a mistake, flies into the ditch. He starts shutting down the mic due to whatever reason, and I managed to grab 11th position, fortunately, without having to work for an overtake there, just because someone else made an error. So into lap 28, Ryan gets into a collision with Defiance. Then Defiance, for some reason, did not wait, and Ryan ended up losing the position there to me. I grabbed 10th position. I see Elmister and Nismo ahead of me. I was like, alright, this is just a gift right now. From all of that from the start, now I'm here in this position. You know, holy shit. Alright, let me just hold the 10th position and see what happens with Elmister and Nismo there. So, you can see the front of the pack there. 3rd, 4th, and 5th. 3rd being Uchiha there in the pink. So, unfortunate stuff going to Ryan at the moment from 4th all the way down to 11th. And see JVD coming through there. Here's the rest with myself, Elmister, and Nismo. So here I saw the opportunity to attack Elmister, but not too much, to the point where I'll make a mistake, you know. I'm just going to try and just keep up with the pace that these 2 guys are going at, because anything can happen in the next few laps. But unfortunately, slightly oversteer there, so the gap increased slightly. But I was still able to keep up with these guys. And knowing that Nismo was very quick on this track into lap 29, I just had to make sure I kept up with Elmister at least. Perhaps even grab that cheeky 9th position, you never know. But the pit window has opened up, because it opens up at lap 28 and 32 for the second pit window, which will be the last pit window, which will be the second mandatory pit. So what happens at this point is that when I do end up catching up Elmister here, one thing you'll notice is that, well, I think it's the lap after this. Yeah, sorry, on lap 30. Lap 30, Elmister decides to go to the pit. So I'm keeping up at Elm now, but Nismo is peeling away. But I'm not paying attention to Nismo right now. I'm paying attention to Elm. But on the right-hand side, if you notice, a few guys already entered the pit quite early from the front and the back of the pack. Not sure exactly who that was. But right now, we're just paying attention to just holding the position here. Although it may seem like we just grabbed the position somehow. Where did I grab 9th position from? Wait a minute, never mind. People have entered the pit early, so that may be the reason why. So, disregard the position right now. Just imagine I'm in 10th position. However, in this situation, you see something happen to Defiance wires. Something major happens to him. There's quite a few cones being taken out. And the front right, what do you notice? Something is that right there, something happens to him. He goes flying off. The next thing you know, I'm in 8th position. So technically right now, I'm in 9th position. Put it that way. So right now you see JVD, something happens to him. He peels back and Nismo grabs the position and Elmis is there. So there's 3 cars ahead of me now that I can grab 3 positions from in this situation. Or in lap 30, we've got 10 laps to go. Making this comeback at this point, I can just be consistent and keep these points up for my team. Now, what happens here, I'm pretty much getting close, near enough bumper to bumper with El Mister. He's off the racing line slightly. He's, of course, got less speed than me at this point, but he's going to end up going into the pit stop with JVD at the same time. There's 2 more laps to go, and Nismo's just there passing the chicane, and myself am. And you see there in the pits right now is Nema, Taz, and Substyles. Nema's just leaving it, and Craig joins them as well in lap 30. And Defiance-wise, is there something happened to him? Something major happened. He was, I believe, at one point in 5th position, but something major happened to him after the first pit window. So here we are approaching lap 32, where it's just myself and Nismo and Neo Dark Shadow that had to go into the pit. Everyone else has already done their pit stop. So from this point, you're like, alright, okay. So Nismo's right there. I know I'm still in 9th position. Alright, if I were to take this pit right now, I'm in 9th position. I'm hoping that Nismo now was aware after myself shouting down a mic that he only had to stay for 20 seconds and leave at his own will. Only reason why the race officials there, so you just make sure that our people stand there for 20 seconds and not go any quicker than that point. So me and Nismo are now hitting the pits. So this is where slowly we're going to start losing positions, of course, because everyone else has done that. Neo's already off. So we're here. Everything's cool. Everyone's going to be coming here one by one outside of the tunnel. You'll see them getting their positions back. And this is interesting though. Check this out. So remember a couple laps before, JVD and El Mister went into the pit with them being ahead of me. Nismo was ahead of JVD, which will be the case at this point as well. But I managed to gain a position from doing my pit ahead of El Mister. So El Mister was held back somewhere there after his first pit from the 2 laps interval that I myself had with Nismo. So that was an easy position for me to grab, because now I just got to pay attention to Nismo and JVD having a little battle, which is going to hold themselves up. So that was interesting. So the pit window definitely there for the second pit window caused a few position changes just from how people managed it through this strategy. Now here's the thing, if you noticed, right, what El Mister could have done, he could have kept his position and went into the pits on lap 32 and could have defended me off to hold that 8th position. Now because he went into the pits early, I was able to outpace him in the 2-lap interval that I had before I went into the pit on the 32nd lap to be able to gain that position to get the 8th position from him and pace away from him. Now Nismo and JVD are ahead of me. Now JVD ends up losing his position right here, makes a mistake, goes off the cliff, and now managed to grab 7th position. Nismo is now in 6th position. So fortunate stuff for me now. Things have been going my way from this point after the second mandatory pit. So from this point, everyone's completed their 2 mandatory pits for this race. Going into lap 34, right after passing JVD's mistake, Nismo makes a mistake on lap 34, hits the tie line, I managed to grab 6th position. So from my actual plan from the first incident with Nema, only wanting 10th position, now I'm quite fortunate to grab 6th position. And going into lap 36 out of 40, something happened to Mackin from 2nd position on lap 33. He ended up losing out 2nd position all the way down to 5th. So right ahead of me is Mackin 10. So this was quite fortunate for myself. Now I have the invitation to go for 5th position. But do I really have to do that after the beginning of the race? Well, I have the confidence to do that. So from this point, you see Picano, who's in 2nd position, just exits the tunnel there, past the chicane, my teammate. And that's Taz, who's getting lapped right now. So their 3rd position is Craig, 4th is Uchiha. He makes a mistake basically, and that allows Mackin to go on the outside and grab 4th position. And I'm just behind Combo and Mackin on 6th position. So Combo now is in 5th, Mackin's in 4th. So I've caught up to 5th and 4th right now, literally. I'm like, alright, cool. So the rest of the pack is coming along here on the shot. But the main shot on the top there, you see, I'm in a good position right now. Now, you know, we've got 5 more laps to go after this point. We're like, all right, cool. I got 5th and 4th in my sight. This should be straightforward. If I just keep up my pace, then everything should be fine at this point, you know. So when I approach the final sweeper here, I've got a nice line against Uchiha. All right, sweet. I've got upper hand with the speed. Lap 37. We've got 3 more laps to go. My bad. And we're going to cut back here. He slightly hits the metal railing. Gives me extra speed, but I wanted to be extra cautious this time, so I let go of my gas so I don't hit him or anything on the exit there. I want to keep this position. I want to keep it safe. However, what do you know? What happens next? Yuichia now ends up hitting the tie lines. I get screwed up by it, not being able to react to that. It's pretty much impossible in that situation. And I ended up losing out on 2 positions. And he, of course, carries on making mistakes after losing momentum. So I lost out a position, essentially, from being 6th, lost 7th. But I could have lost out a couple positions there if Yuichia kept going on. So that is the thing, man. That's unfortunate, really. From this position, you know, we've got 3 laps left. All right, just keep your head up, man. You know, just whatever. Shit happens. So you got to keep going, man. Because I'm quite fortunate enough to get my 10th position, which I always wanted. Now I'm in 7th position. All right, fair enough. All right, just keep going. Although I'm extremely frustrated at this point during the actual race. JVD is in front of me. And Nismo is also ahead of JVD. So on this lap, JVD once again makes a mistake on the same corner. And this time hitting the inside barrier, which allowed me to grab 6th position now. So Nismo is ahead of me. And we're going to be approaching the 38th lap at this point. So we're going into the 38th lap. We've got 2 more laps to go from this point. I'm pushing it really hard, slightly oversteer there. Managed to recover from that and continue from this point. So about 0.5 seconds behind the actual time here for the hot lap, I guess, because of the oversteer. But still, I was able to keep up with Nismo at this point. And here's an issue, though. What do you notice coming up right now on lap 39, I believe? Yes, lap 39. When I'm keeping up to Nismo, I do end up catching up to him. But behind me is still JVD and Yuichia in 7th and 8th position. So I knew that I should not be making any mistakes at this point. By the way, if you notice the fence there, this entire race had a yellow flag throughout the entire thing. It was completely unfortunate that was there, pretty much putting people off. But it wasn't really that much of an issue, to be honest. Bro, I'm so tired right now. Holy shit. But here we go. I'm moving in for the kill. You know, approaching the 39th lap. So basically, we got 2 laps at this point. My bad. So we're approaching 39th lap. And, you know, 6th position. Fortunately now, grabbing it back again, I guess. Let's hold it this time. Let's try and hold it. Let's hope that there's no back markers getting in the way. Let's just hope that, you know, we can just hold this throughout the rest of the race, because 6th position is awesome from starting last and 31 seconds behind. So now 39th lap in, Nismo is right there. Somehow managed to catch up to him, but just ahead of Nismo, there's a couple of cars there that I just did not want them to be there, because this was going to be timing to the fullest. So approaching the second uphill corner here. Oh, there's a back marker recovering from Mackin getting through. Mackin was just ahead of Nismo. So the back marker allows Nismo to go through. And I was like, all right, so what about me? Why can't you let me go right here? Get off the racing line. You're still on the racing line. You're still on the racing line. And that right there just completely pissed me off. I ended up losing a position because of a back marker. Yuichia goes through, grabs 6th, and we're going to be approaching the final lap. So from me holding 6th a few times, all the positions that I've lost and all the points that I was held up by is because of other drivers. And fortunately for me, I didn't make a single mistake when it came to actual crash from my car on the track, you know, after the first incident. And that's what really aggravated me, because it all came down to that one move that I tried to go for early, and unfortunate circumstances because of that. From recovering, of course, I knew it's going to be pretty tough. But it's just when these situations do occur, it can get extremely annoying after going through so much for that long. And the last lap, now, you know, when the people that hold you up grab a position from you without working for it, it's one thing that also pisses me off. But hey, it is what it is. Shit like that happens. But here we go. Last lap, having to try and get my 6th position back again, which I was hoping for, and I had to push so much right now, and I managed to get to the point where I was bumper to bumper right here. I had to be extremely careful. Remember, this is the last lap. Neo Dark comfortably wins it there, by the way, as you saw on the screen. But I'm still not done yet. I want to get this a few extra points for myself and the team. perhaps go for the move here, but a little bit too late there. Closed me out. Cut back and cut back on again. Oh, bumper to bumper coming in. I might just go for the inside. He manages to defend that really well. I should have probably stayed on the outside onto the racing line to gain that extra momentum on his exit. But from this point, it's a little bit too much. I guess it's kind of over. You know, I sort of just held 7th. I didn't really have enough momentum to close up the gap and then go for the overtake on the final lap of the final section. And yeah, overall, it was a frustrating race. But I thought, you know, finishing 7th is alright, I guess, from the first incident. Unfortunate to Nema, he couldn't end up finishing top 10 because he went to the pit stop 3 times, actually. So unfortunate stuff to him. He still finished 13th, though, so props to him. You know, he should have started in 3rd, of course, and stuff like that happened. So final standings, Neo Dark in the lead, Picano in 2nd for the Drivers' Championship, Craig in 3rd, Mackin in 4th, Nismo in 5th, Uchiha in 6th, I'm in 7th, El Mister in 8th, Ryan in 9th, JVD in 10th, Defiance Wise in 11th, Sean L in 12th, Namo 13th, Mike in 14th, Substars 15th, so forth, so on. And here's the Constructors' Championship, Team Fusion in 2nd. So those points that I managed to grab was actually crucial for the Constructors' Championship. So I'm quite glad we're in 2nd. The Silver Arrows, Neo Dark, of course, carrying it for 25 points. Unfortunately, Mike Bauer's teammate could not make it top 10. So there you guys have it. That was the first week highlights for F1 Championship season. What a start to the season. Some frustrating moments, but stuff like that is expected in racing. Hopefully, moving on to the second race of the championship and the season itself, things will look a little bit more smoother at the beginning. So yeah, thanks for tuning in to the first race, guys, for the stream. Next one will be on Friday this week, of course, for Circle of the Shores. For GP2 it will be tomorrow. So I'll see you guys there on my stream. I'll let you guys know the YouTube URL, but there's all information regarding the season championships is in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Check your sign out. Good night, peace. Yeah. Hey guys, here, Gene. So the GP2 series has kicked off for week 1 Galileo Grand Prix, and the race went down really well yesterday. And here's the highlights